Immortals' Journey to Immortality Episode 332. In the previous episode, tensions quietly rose among the great cultivators as Wei Wuya and Devil Concord debated Han Li's future. One feared that Han Li's rapid rise could reshape the balance of the heavenly south, while the other saw no reason to oppose someone who sought only the path of cultivation. Meanwhile, deep within the spiraling well of spiritual energy, Han Li and Master Sunreach pushed through crushing pressure to reach the glowing barrier that sealed away the abyss of corrupting devilish energy below. There, Han Li tested the depths himself, wrapping his body in thunderous divine devilbane lightning and descending into the darkness. But even with lightning that could disperse any corruption, he soon realized that the sheer volume of devilish energy would drain his power far faster than expected. At the end of the previous episode, Han Li returned to the surface and told the others that before he committed to placing the formation plate, he needed to know exactly how deep they intended to set it, because even his lightning might not last long enough. What will happen next? Stay tuned. And the story continues. The others raised no objections to Devil Concord's suggestion to move the discussion elsewhere, and the group headed towards Spirit Turtle Island. Han Li asked Master Sunreach for a sealed room where he could spend the night meditating while they waited for the other two cultivators to retrieve the formation plate from the spell formation masters. He needed this quiet space to replenish his energy and carefully plan his next steps. The following morning, Han Li received a sound transmission talisman from Master Sunreach and promptly appeared at the main hall. As he walked in, his eyes immediately noted that the three great cultivators were already seated, engaged in a conversation amongst themselves. Their serious expressions reflected the gravity of the matter at hand. When Wei Wuya noticed Han Li's arrival, he called out to him and, with a flick of his hand, summoned a faint red jade slip onto the table. "Fellow Taoist Han, please take a seat. This jade slip shows the location where you must place the formation plate. Based on our research of the sealing formation," he explained. Han Li reached out and let the jade slip fly into his hand, immediately immersing his spiritual sense into the information engraved upon it. The moment he examined it, his brow furrowed, and he withdrew his spiritual sense, a dark expression settling across his face. He tossed the jade slip back onto the table and looked coldly at the three cultivators. "Fellow Taoists, do you intend for me to embark on a one-way journey, placing the formation plate so deep within the abyss that there is no return?" he asked, his tone laced with icy tension. Devil Concord's expression remained calm as he replied, "How can you say that, fellow Taoist Han? Although the location for the formation plate is indeed deep, with the protection of the divine devilbane lightning, it should not pose a problem." Han Li's eyes narrowed as his anger surfaced. "Do you believe my reserves of divine devilbane lightning are infinite? Or do you hope that I simply will not return after completing the task?" Wei Wuya frowned and interjected, "Surely you have enough, fellow Taoist Han. From what I recall, during your battle with the Elder Devil, you controlled a vast amount of lightning. It should suffice." Han Li tilted his head, giving them an almost mocking look. "Have you not explored deep enough into the devilish energy to understand its true nature?" he asked, voice calm yet sharp. Wei Wuya stiffened. "Fellow Taoist Han means that," he began, but trailed off, uncertain. Devil Concord's eyes flickered briefly, but he remained silent, and Master Sunreach lowered his head in thought, the weight of the situation pressing on him. Han Li then interlaced his fingers, holding them at his chest as he continued in an indifferent tone. "At a certain depth, it becomes clear that the devilish energy intensifies, and it rapidly drains the divine devilbane lightning. I reached this conclusion after delving 1 kilometer deep into the abyss. While I do possess some divine devilbane lightning, it would not last if I had to delve 10 kilometers into the devilish energy and return safely." Wei Wuya's frown deepened, and he turned to Master Sunreach. "So that was the case. Brother Sunreach, you delved the deepest among us into the devilish energy. Is this true?" Master Sunreach sighed in agreement. "Yes, it is true. When I explored the depths using my secret techniques, I felt my magic power depleting at an alarming rate. I had initially thought to warn Han Li but believed he might not notice, so I remained silent." Devil Concord's expression shifted with realization. If that is so, our original plan to send a cultivator with devil-warding treasures into the depths would fail. While they might initially be safe, prolonged exposure would lead to corruption by the devilish energy. Master Sunreach nodded, a wry smile appearing on his face. That was exactly why I was never fully confident in that plan. However, at the time, Han Li was absent, and we had no other alternatives. Han Li, observing their expressions and the subtle shifts in tone, felt a flicker of gloom. He could not determine whether the three had intentionally withheld information or were genuinely unaware of the dangers. Either way, he would not consent lightly to such a mission. Silence enveloped the room, heavy with the unspoken truth. Placing the formation plate at such a depth would likely be a death sentence. All four cultivators recognized that half of the heavenly south would be affected by the release of the devilish energy. Yet none were willing to sacrifice themselves. Their cultivation levels were too high, their positions too secure. If matters went awry, they could easily flee to safety elsewhere. Apart from Han Li, no one possessed the ability to reach the depths necessary to place the formation plate. Leaving the three great cultivators exchanging glances in quiet dismay. After a brief pause, Han Li spoke with a relaxed tone, though a glint of determination shone in his eyes. I am aware of the seriousness of this matter and the dilemma it places upon all of you. I believe I have an idea to resolve it. Master Sunreach, sensing the spirit behind his words, quickly asked, "What is your idea? Please tell us." Wei Wuya and Devil Concord also leaned in, eager to hear the plan. Han Li explained carefully, "It is simple. I can reach the designated location for the formation plate using my divine Devilbane lightning. But I will not have enough to return safely. Therefore, I will need all the devil-warding treasures you have gathered to extend my endurance within the devilish energy. This method is dangerous, yet I believe it is feasible." Wei Wuya immediately expressed agreement, a smile lighting his face. "That will not be a problem. If you can place the formation plate, we will lend you all the devil-warding treasures in our possession." Master Sunreach added, smiling at Devil Concord, "Brother Concord, what say you?" Devil Concord hesitated, then nodded in agreement. "Indeed, should you succeed, we plan to grant one of the islands to fellow Taoist Han." Han Li's eyes narrowed in curiosity. "You would give me one of the islands?" he asked. "Yes," Master Sunreach replied warmly. "We had originally planned to distribute the islands among 7 great sects. Most belong to our 3 superpowers. There is one island difficult to divide. Initially, it was to go to fellow Taoists Long Han and Feng Bing. But since they are in seclusion, we have decided it will go to a smaller sect. Now, since you are willing to brave the danger, it will be granted to your Drifting Cloud sect. No one will object." Han Li considered this carefully. The islands were rich in spirit veins, abundant spirit stone mines, and other resources. He then asked, concern in his voice, "Once the grand formation is restored, won't the islands sink back into the ocean?" Wei Wuya reassured him, "Do not worry. Our method to restore the formation differs from the original creation. The islands will remain, and those occupying them will also be responsible for maintaining the sealing formation." After a moment of thought, Han Li finally said grimly, "Since such promises have been made, I will attempt it. However, once this is complete, I wish to have no further involvement." Wei Wuya laughed heartily. "Placing the formation plate is already a great service. Leave the rest to us." The 3 cultivators then handed over the devil-warding treasures they had acquired. A jade scepter with a flood dragon head, a fire-red trigram mirror, a set of sparkling gold armor, and a small black flag. Han Li examined them briefly before placing them into his storage pouch. He tested their efficacy and found them exceptional. 3 being Yang Flame treasures, extremely useful against the devilish energy. The black flag, a famed Devil Dao treasure, was capable of absorbing the devilish energy. Han Li carefully placed it in his storage, much to Devil Concord's surprise. After preparations were complete, the cultivators left Master Sunreach's residence and headed toward the giant whirlpool. 4 hours later, Han Li arrived alone at the bottom. He gazed at the devilish energy below the light barrier and silently clenched his fist. Thunder roared as arcs of golden lightning instantly covered his body. forming a dense net around his barrier. As he observed the lightning weaving around him, a trace of ridicule crossed his lips. Despite the cunning of the three great cultivators, they could not have anticipated that he possessed 72 flying swords created from gold lightning bamboo. By his calculations, he could make 2 trips to the depths and still have enough power to spare. The task posed no real danger to him. Han Li's actions served a dual purpose: to negotiate for greater rewards, as Master Sunreach had hinted there might be benefits, and to conceal the true extent of his divine Devilbane lightning reserves. He knew that in the future, only the 3 great cultivators and the Molan divine sages could pose a threat to him in the heavenly south. He had no choice but to deceive them, like the last time Han Li delved into the abyss of devilish chi. He was protected in a net of divine Devilbane lightning. Soon, the rings of thunder grew softer as he delved deeper, and the golden lightning eventually disappeared completely from view. The deeper he went, the more oppressive the devilish energy became. Yet the net of lightning around him continued to offer protection, acting as a barrier against the corrupting influence that filled the abyss. On the surface of the ocean, the 3 great cultivators watched the whirlpool silently, their expressions serious as they discussed Han Li's progress. Wei Wuya, hands behind his back, asked Master Sunreach, "Brother Sunreach, do you truly believe that fellow Taoist Han does not have enough divine Devilbane lightning to complete the entire trip? Will his reserves be exhausted before he can return safely?" Master Sunreach's expression sank slightly, displeasure flickering across his face. "Do you imply that my previous words were false?" he asked sternly. Wei Wuya quickly clarified, chuckling to ease the tension. "No, Brother Sunreach, I meant no disrespect. I only asked because I felt that fellow Taoist Han had agreed too easily to undertake such a dangerous task." Master Sunreach's expression softened as he considered this. "I am not certain myself. During my previous exploration of the abyss, my magic power drained at an alarming rate the deeper I ventured. One would require an astonishing amount of divine Devilbane lightning to survive a full round trip. I do not believe Han Li could accomplish this with lightning alone. Perhaps he has another method to temporarily withstand the devilish energy." Wei Wuya nodded thoughtfully. "It is possible. There are indeed countless mysteries and secrets in the cultivation world. Regardless, it would be fortunate if this calamity could be resolved smoothly." He glanced at Devil Concord, who stood silently, arms crossed, expressionless, staring down into the depths of the whirlpool. For now, the air remained heavy with silence. Deep within the abyss, 10 kilometers below the surface, a light barrier surged with golden lightning. Floating motionlessly, Han Li remained inside, solemnly studying the jade slip that outlined the precise location for the formation plate. His spiritual sense swept across the complex instructions, ensuring he understood every detail before acting. After a short time, Han Li withdrew his spiritual sense from the jade slip, surveying the darkness around him. The abyss was entirely devoid of light, stretching infinitely in all directions, the oppressive devilish energy pressing against his barrier. He frowned, then opened his mouth and spat out a tiny golden sword, barely an inch long. The small blade was instantly enveloped in a layer of thin lightning, circling him rapidly before forming a strange, inch-sized ring of golden light above his head. Han Li performed an incantation gesture, commanding the ring to suddenly stop and shoot forward in a streak of golden brilliance. He followed closely, moving at incredible speed. The sword shot downward, piercing an unseen object with a muffled bang. A trace of joy crossed Han Li's face as he hovered 3 meters above the strike point. In the pitch-black darkness, the faint flicker of lightning revealed that the sword had struck a massive flat rock. Han Li's expression sharpened as he pressed a hand against his light barrier. Instantly, the surrounding net of lightning flared violently, releasing dense bolts that formed several golden serpents of lightning. These pythons swept away the devilish energy in the area, illuminating the massive rock beneath. Han Li examined the surface carefully and was astonished. This was not a simple rock. It was the floor of a grand altar, stretching beyond the range of his golden lightning. The formation masters had chosen an unexpectedly remarkable location for the placement of the formation plate. Han Li directed the golden lightning serpents to expand, revealing the altar's full scale. The altar appeared as a square building, roughly 100 meters across. Its stone walls were intricately engraved with patterns and symbols from ancient cultivators, a testament to the mastery of those who had constructed it. After surveying the area, Han Li recalled the sword embedded in the floor, and with a flick, it returned to his sleeve in a streak of golden light. He moved toward the center of the building, where a faint flicker of white light caught his eye. His heart stirred as he approached, revealing a shattered stone tablet. Only a small portion of its foundation remained upright, the rest lay in scattered fragments across the altar. Han Li's eyes scanned the shards, noting worn talisman characters that were indecipherable. The material of the stone was curious, it only occasionally sparkled with faint white light, hinting at a rare composition. He reached for a fist-sized fragment of the tablet. His hand glowed with azure light as he summoned it into his grasp. The stone was gray and seemingly ordinary, yet traces of spiritual energy marked it as special. Han Li examined it closely, brow furrowing in thought. He then exerted greater strength, and to his surprise, the stone did not shatter. Instead, it softened slightly under his grip, allowing his fingers to sink into it. His heart leapt at the discovery. Han Li called out through his spiritual sense to Monarch Soul Divergence. Senior Soul Divergence, do you know what this material is? I have never seen it before. The response came lazily, but that is unsurprising. Ancient cultivators used countless rare materials. Allow me to study this piece. I am idle and have little else to do. Han Li tossed the fragment into the bamboo tube behind him. Light flashed as a mist of white energy sucked the stone inside. Beginning its examination, Han Li then focused on the shattered tablet. It appeared to have been broken not long ago, likely when the spell formation had been damaged. He gathered the remaining fragments with a sweep of azure light, attempting to collect the foundation as well. Launching over 10 streaks of sword chi, he struck the stone, hoping to dislodge more fragments. But the attacks had no effect. The sword chi could not penetrate the stone, it remained intact, unyielding. Startled by the resistance, Han Li paused. The divine devilbane lightning within him remained sufficient for a time. But the deeper he stayed, the greater the danger. Deciding not to linger, he turned to the placement of the formation plate. He began by creating a 3-meter deep hole in the side of the shattered tablet. White light flickered in his hand as he summoned the formation plate, placing it into the hole with precise control. His hands then formed a hand incantation, and the plate radiated a brighter light, releasing a clear ring before a thick beam of white energy shot skyward, vanishing without trace. Han Li exhaled in relief, knowing he had found the correct position. With a wave of his sleeve, he used an azure gale to cover the hole with rocks, sealing it completely with a smooth layer. He walked around the altar to ensure nothing appeared unusual. Satisfied with his work, he then dispelled the golden lightning serpents, and the devilish chi began to churn violently, no longer held back by the altar. As Han Li prepared to ascend toward the ocean surface, a familiar voice echoed in his spiritual sense. "Youngster, wait a moment." Startled, Han Li asked, "What does Senior have to say?" "This is the center of the ceiling formation and the densest area of devilish chi," Monarch Soul Divergence explained. "It has been suppressed since ancient times, and it is possible several devil essence diamonds have formed here. They were used to refine precious devil Dao treasures. You should see if you can locate them nearby." Han Li's expression changed with interest. After a moment, he reached for his storage pouch and produced a yellow jade scepter with a wolf's head. This was the ancient treasure that originally housed Silvermoon. Although its artifact spirit was missing, it was still capable of using simple earth movement techniques, but not to the superb skill that Silvermoon was capable of. With a soft shout, Han Li's light barrier doubled in size, and a streak of white light flew out from his sleeve. The light circled around him and gradually transformed into a small white fox. The fox twitched its ears and gazed at Han Li expectantly. "Since time is limited, let's split up to find the devil essence diamonds," Han Li said quickly. He tossed a small ball of golden lightning toward the white fox. With a sharp ring of thunder, the ball wrapped around the fox in a net, shimmering and crackling with energy. "Keep in mind that the lightning will not last long. Han Li warned solemnly. Once it begins to weaken, return immediately and then we will ascend together. Yes, Master, Silvermoon replied brightly, her voice filled with determination. However, I do not know what devil essence diamonds look like. Before Han Li could respond, Monarch Soul Divergence's voice echoed in his spiritual sense. Devil essence diamonds are pitch-black gems filled with astonishing devilish energy. They will be easy to identify once found. That will do then, I am heading off, Silvermoon said, and her body flashed with a silver light as she sank into the ground. Vanishing from sight, Han Li did not linger either. With a wave of the yellow jade scepter in his hand, a layer of golden light surrounded his own light barrier, and he sank into the earth without leaving a trace. For a time, the surface above was completely silent. The platform was shrouded in thick, pitch-black devilish energy, the darkness so oppressive it resembled the underworld itself. Time passed slowly in the abyss. Then, suddenly, golden light flashed as Han Li emerged from the ground. His eyes scanned the area carefully, and a faint trace of worry crossed his face when he noticed that Silvermoon had not returned yet. He glanced at his hand and released his grip, revealing a pitch-black gem roughly the size of his thumb. Monarch Soul Divergence's voice carried amusement. As I expected, there are indeed devil essence diamonds here. Your luck is extraordinary. These were treasures that ancient devil Dao cultivators could only dream of obtaining. Even in antiquity, they were incredibly rare. Han Li carefully examined the gem. It emitted no light, only a serene, deep darkness that seemed to pull at his consciousness. He felt a tremor in his heart and quickly withdrew his gaze, wary of the gem's overwhelming presence. At that moment, a silver light shone from beneath him. The small white fox, wrapped faintly in golden light, burst from the ground and darted into Han Li's light barrier. If you took any longer, I was going to find you myself, Silvermoon exclaimed. I expected you to return sooner. Did you find something? She extended her paw, releasing 3 pitch-black gems that were unmistakably devil essence diamonds. Good, good, Han Li said with a smile. Silvermoon returned to his sleeve, and he carefully placed the 3 gems along with his own into a single jade box for safekeeping. We cannot linger any longer, Han Li muttered. The golden lightning surrounding him trembled as a loud boom echoed through the dark abyss. He began to slowly ascend toward the surface, cautious not to waste any more of his energy. His ascent was deliberate, slow but steady. After a quarter of an hour, he reached the barrier of white light. Throughout the journey, he had not relied on any of the devil-warding treasures gifted by the 3 great cultivators, choosing to rely solely on his own abilities. Passing through the light barrier, he withdrew his divine Devilbane lightning entirely. Yet, he did not immediately return to the surface. Instead, he reached into his storage pouch and pulled out a damaged dark green flag. Silvermoon yelped in surprise, recognition in her voice. Yi, isn't this the ghost-sifting banner? Han Li nodded. Although the devil heads and yin ghosts attached to the banner were destroyed, the banner itself is a rare devil Dao treasure and remains intact. From what I know, it can absorb ghost energy to restore itself. Devil Concord's flag reminded me of this. Devilish and ghostly energy are both forms of yin qi. Given the pure devilish energy here, this is the perfect opportunity to test if the banner can restore itself. Even if it fails, it will not matter. Calmly, Han Li chanted an incantation, and blue light surged around his hands, enveloping the small flag. The banner shot into the dense devilish energy in an azure streak. Streams of energy engulfed it, and the blue light was swiftly devoured by the surrounding power. Han Li focused his attention, forming a precise hand incantation and pointing at the banner. Instantly, the lifeless ghost-sifting banner glowed with green light and violently expanded under his command. Within moments, it became a torn 3-meter-tall flag, still bearing damage from its previous battle with the Aureate sword formation. Having learned the method to control the banner from the yin-sifting sect elder's consciousness, Han Li knew the banner did not require blood recognition. Though classified as a magic treasure, it could now be wielded by him after some refinement. He chanted an incantation again, creating a hole in front of the banner. Gusts of yin wind swirled within the hole, and the dense devilish energy around them began to flow rapidly into it. Han Li's eyes gleamed as he observed the banner absorbing the devilish energy. Slowly but visibly, the banner restored itself. Soon, it appeared flawless, though its original green color had darkened to black. The more energy it absorbed, the more black light covered the green portions, transforming it into a banner of deep, ominous power. After some time, the ghost-sifting banner emitted a series of hums, and the hole it had created vanished. Han Li pointed at the banner, and it shrank back to its original size, shooting upward in a black streak to enter his grasp. He examined it carefully, satisfaction evident on his face, before safely storing it away for future testing. Realizing he had spent enough time in the abyss, Han Li activated his tens of flying swords, creating a protective barrier as he broke through the dense spiritual energy above, finally ascending toward the surface. Above the whirlpool, the three great cultivators remained calm outwardly, though subtle traces of worry betrayed their concern for Han Li's success. Relief washed over them as Han Li emerged in a streak of azure light. "Fellow Taoist Han, how did it go? Did you succeed?" Master Sunreach asked with a broad smile. "I've fulfilled my task. The formation plate is securely placed," Han Li replied, smiling faintly. "Good. Allow me to test it," Wei Wuya said. He summoned a formation plate identical to the one Han Li buried. Forming a hand gesture while holding it, a cryptic incantation passed his lips, and the plate glowed with white light, releasing threads of rainbow energy in a magnificent display. "Excellent," Wei Wuya said, nodding. "You have properly installed the formation plate. We can now invite the other cultivators to restore the spell formation. Thanks to your efforts, we need not fear any sudden eruption of devilish energy. Your achievement is significant." Han Li returned the 4 devil-warding treasures to the 3 cultivators. Declining to stay longer, "Many thanks, but I cannot afford to delay these matters," he said, regret flickering briefly across his face. "Since Brother Han has urgent matters, we will not detain him. Have a smooth journey," Wei Wuya said, sending him off with a respectful salute. Han Li cupped his fists and enveloped his body in blinding azure light before streaking across the sky, departing swiftly. Half a month later, Han Li returned to the drifting cloud sect. He reported the gifted spirit island to his senior martial brothers and prepared to enter seclusion. This time, he did not focus on cultivating magic power, but on completing the refinement of his second nascent soul. The wood spirit nascent had now reached assimilation, on the verge of becoming his second nascent soul, greatly expanding his strength and granting him another life. Before beginning seclusion, Han Li carefully checked on Nangong Wan's condition. With recent grand events concluded, the Heavenly South cultivation world had entered another period of peace, and the various sects and clans took this opportunity to nurture their disciples and hone their abilities. 4 years after Han Li entered seclusion, Silvermoon was in her human form respectfully waiting outside the sealed seclusion room. The day before, she had received a voice transmission from Han Li while she was nurturing spirit medicines with the green liquid. And now she stood quietly, waiting for him to emerge. She did not have to wait long. The massive stone door began to groan, slowly opening as if reluctant to reveal its contents. When she raised her head and looked inside, she did not see Han Li. Instead, a black yin wind surged outward from the room. It rolled and churned, forming a 3-meter-wide cloud, accompanied by a muffled, almost amused chuckle. The dark cloud moved toward Silvermoon, who instinctively took several steps back in alarm, her eyes wide with shock. Then, as if sensing her unease, the cloud came to a gentle halt. Its surface shimmered faintly, resembling black silk under light. Silvermoon's mind began to stir with recognition. The black cloud condensed suddenly, shrinking into an inch-long black-green nascent soul, hovering in the air with a strange familiarity. Its voice rang out clearly, small but commanding. "How is it? This should be considered a success. My second nascent soul has reached this stage." Silvermoon's face brightened with joy as she smiled and curtsied, speaking respectfully to the nascent soul. "Congratulations on Master's achievement," she said. Despite its smaller size, the nascent soul bore the exact appearance of Han Li's original form. At that moment, Han Li stepped out from the seclusion room, his usual calm presence returning. "It has been a surprise to complete my second nascent soul so quickly," he said. "However, now that it is done, it does feel a bit strange." The black-green nascent soul grinned mischievously and circled Han Li once before landing lightly on his head. Silvermoon carefully observed him and smiled warmly. "It is only natural to feel a bit strange after acquiring a second nascent soul. Master will become accustomed to it with time." "Oh, from your tone, it seems you know something about having a second nascent soul. Did you remember something?" Han Li asked curiously, tilting his head. After a moment, Silvermoon replied, "It is not very clear to me. I do not know why I said it. Perhaps I knew of a similar technique in the past." Han Li nodded at her explanation and fell silent. The nascent soul perched on his head then summoned a small flag with a wave of its hand. Beginning to play with it, it was the ghost sifting banner. The same banner that had absorbed devilish energy in the past. Silvermoon looked at it with a mixture of surprise and curiosity. "Could it be that your second nascent soul cultivates a devil Dao art?" she asked cautiously. Han Li nodded. "It is only natural that the second nascent soul should cultivate something exceptional. However, it cannot cultivate a new technique independently since it does not yet have its own body. I am using my own body and the ghost sifting banner's devilish energy to have it practice several of the Profound Yin Art transformation techniques. As for granting it a body, I have yet to decide. There is always the risk of backlash or betrayal once it has its own body. I must be cautious." He patted his head gently, and in a flash of black light, the nascent soul vanished back into his skull. Using his spiritual sense, Han Li could see both his main and second nascent soul sitting cross-legged in his dantian, meditating quietly across from one another. Silvermoon tilted her head thoughtfully. "It is right for Master to be cautious. I have never heard of the profound nascent formation arts before. Most other incarnation techniques divide attention between bodies. Higher grade techniques, such as the Molan Divine Sage Zongs, are grand abilities that require a forceful division of the primal soul." Han Li chuckled lightly. "Those incarnation techniques do not increase their power. They are primarily for survival or producing superior numbers. Though formidable, their strength is of a different nature. Enough of that for now. Did anything happen while I was in seclusion?" He beckoned to Silvermoon and walked toward the main hall, her steps soft and measured behind him. Silvermoon spoke as they walked. "A year after Master entered seclusion, Lady Mew succeeded in core formation. Following your instructions, I gave her the copulation essence arts along with medicinal pills suitable for her cultivation stage. Lady Nangong remains safe within the restricted area. The demon beast core continues to weaken the soul seal curse daily. Even without a removal method, it should dissolve in approximately 100 years. Though this is merely my speculation." Han Li's eyes gleamed with satisfaction at the news. Just as he was about to ask more, Silvermoon continued, "There is also one other matter. The Six-winged Frost Centipedes have been fed rainbow skirt grass over the years. They should have grown and laid eggs. Yet their growth seems to have plateaued. They molted once and have shown no further signs of reproduction." Han Li's pace faltered, and an unusual expression crossed his face. "Molted?" he asked, intrigued. "Yes," Silvermoon replied softly, slowing her steps. "After molting, they became far more powerful and irritable, as if preparing to molt again." "Let me take a look at them," Han Li said, frowning as he changed direction toward the insect rooms. Soon, he arrived and entered one of the rooms. A gust of glacial energy swept past him immediately. Ice covered the room in thick layers, and various sized mounds of ice dotted the area, each with holes dug into them. Half-foot long, snow-white streaks moved about. Recognizing Han Li immediately, having already been imprinted by his blood as their master, the centipedes grew restless, leaping toward him and clinging to the walls closest to him. Han Li raised his hand, releasing the restriction on the room. Several inch-long masses of white light floated toward him. He captured one and examined it closely. It was a larva, completely snow-white except for two small protrusions on its back. Its form had not changed since he last saw it. He extended a finger toward its mouth, igniting a small blue flame on his fingertip. The centipede larva exhaled a thin thread of glacial energy at the flame. The blue flame surged several times in size, then was completely wrapped by the icy energy. Han Li closed his eyes, sensing the subtle interactions within the larva's energy. "It seems your words were true," he muttered. "They have become significantly more powerful after molting. There is little difference between reproduction by cannibalism and continuous molting." He flicked his finger, extinguishing the flame. "They are ancient and extraordinary creatures. Perhaps their reproduction is limited, or the rainbow skirt grass altered their physiology. Either way, as long as we continue to mature them with the green liquid, it is not a problem." Silvermoon smiled softly, relieved. Han Li ignored the compliment and returned to the main hall, saying, "During seclusion, I have become well rested. It is time to make a journey to the Great Jin Empire. I must dispel the baleful energy present in my body, acquire rare materials, and check on Nangong Wan. The ancient flame toad's demon core is helpful, but I remain cautious. I must also visit the Yin Sifting sect to obtain the incantation to dissolve the soul seal curse. With my second nascent soul, I am prepared for the dangers that may lie ahead." Silvermoon nodded with a smile. With Master's abilities, few cultivators could match him. Han Li chuckled. "There are countless miraculous and fantastical treasures in the cultivation world. Nothing is certain. I am already at odds with the Devil Dao cultivators of the Yin Sifting sect. It is best to move cautiously. First, I will check on Wan'er, then Senior Marshal Brother Cheng, and finally gather missing materials for the puppets and the Seven Flame Fan. If all goes well, we will depart in half a month." "Yes, Master. I also wish to see the Great Jin, as it is known as the Holy Land of Cultivators," Silvermoon replied with enthusiasm. Half a month later, an azure streak shot from the Dreamcloud Mountains. Heading south, word soon spread that Elder Han of the Drifting Cloud sect had left on a distant journey. Details were unclear, though it was speculated he may be roaming the Heavenly South or had left entirely. The Heavenly South experienced a brief stir before returning to calm. The ancient sword sect of Dreamcloud Mountains and the 100 Possibilities Pavilion remained respectful toward the Drifting Cloud sect, allowing it to maintain its top position in the state of Shi. As years passed, cultivators aged and passed away, while new figures emerged in the gaps they left behind. The cycle of Heavenly South cultivation continued as ever. As for Han Li, any trace of him had disappeared from the Heavenly South. For over 100 years, there had been no word of him, and caravan of about 30 men were traveling down wilderness with grassland as far as the eye could see. There were 8 carriages among them, accompanied by young horsemen dressed in leather. Some of these horsemen were only 12 years old, yet they rode with confidence and spirit, eager to complete the journey. At the very front of the caravan rode an old man on a fine yellow horse. His face was weathered, marked by sharp creases on his brow and a dark red complexion, showing signs of years spent in the sun and wind. He wore a fire-red fox hide cap, ornate robes, and a tri-colored embroidered belt, all symbols of his rank and authority. This man was Ying Lu, the master of the group, and the leader of a small tribe known as the Grey Heron Tribe. They were traveling through the northern region of the endless sky plains, heading toward a temple belonging to the soaring tribes. These plains were vast and unbroken, stretching endlessly toward the horizon. The soaring tribes called them the Molan Plains, in reverence to their patron god, the endless sky beast, believed to protect them through generations. Historically, the soaring tribes occupied only the southern portion of these plains. However, 30 years ago, they had won a decisive war against the Molan, claiming control over the entire region. Their strength had since grown immensely, leaving no other tribes capable of challenging them. The soaring tribes were immense in scale, consisting of countless smaller divisions. A small tribe might have only 100,000 men, while the largest could reach 100 million. Following their war, many new tribes formed, most being small and insignificant, numbering only tens of thousands of men. Ying Lu's Grey Heron Tribe was one of these small tribes, consisting of around 80,000 men. Although small, Ying Lu himself had been a formidable warrior in his youth. He had fought and conquered several smaller Molan tribes, capturing many nobles, and earned his current rank. Time. however, had worn him down. Despite being only 50 years old, his body and face betrayed the weight of his experiences and labor. Ying Lu squinted toward the blazing sun and noticed it was noon. He turned his gaze back to the young man riding behind him and sighed. Regardless of a tribe's size, they had to present tribute to the Immortals regularly to ensure protection from calamities or demon beasts. However, newly formed or small tribes like theirs could not call upon Immortals of their own. Low-grade Immortals, if they existed at all, preferred to join larger, more prosperous tribes. Occasionally, small tribes could hire Immortals from neighboring tribes, but the cost was exorbitant, sometimes consuming half of their annual revenue. For a tribe as modest as the Grey Heron, this was a heavy burden. Fortunately, 20 years had passed since the last day of spirit release, and the tribe's new opportunity had finally arrived. Ying Lu was determined not to let it slip by. He had personally led several disciples to the nearest soaring tribe's temple. These endless sky temples, originally constructed to honor the patron god, had evolved into holy sites where low-grade Immortals were nurtured. Each temple was overseen by several high-grade Immortals who taught basic cultivation methods. Those with lower aptitude were sent back to their tribes with what they learned, while the most gifted were taken as disciples for advanced instruction, provided they successfully completed the spirit release rites. In the Grey Heron Tribe's region, only one temple existed, and it was the heart of the surrounding lands. The largest sects lived closest to it, while smaller tribes like theirs were positioned farther away, making the journey to the temple long and dangerous. For this reason, Ying Lu had led his group out 4 months in advance, knowing the journey would take at least 3 months. On the previous day of spirit release, Ying Lu had not been able to gather sufficient tribute for the temple, and the opportunity had passed. This year, he would not allow his tribe to miss it again. He had even reduced rations and cut expenses to ensure the tribe could present the necessary offerings. Yet, even with careful preparation, the journey was perilous. The tribute included items highly valuable to Immortals, and even more so to mortals. A careless caravan could be robbed by bandits or even a wandering Immortal. Tribes near the temple faced fewer dangers, but those far away, like the Grey Heron Tribe, were exposed to constant risk. Stories circulated of mid-grade tribes losing a 1,000-year-old medicinal herb to a high-grade Immortal, causing outrage and subsequent investigations from temple authorities. Ying Lu had been worried ever since leaving, knowing that while he carried the tribute, no Immortal directly protected them. As the day of spirit release drew nearer, Immortals were busy with temple affairs and often could not respond to smaller tribes. Larger neighboring tribes could hire wandering Immortals at great cost, leaving weaker tribes little chance of securing protection. Ying Lu glanced behind him, assessing his small caravan of 30 men. 4 of their 8 carriages carried tribute. The carriages were crafted from sturdy red birch wood, pulled by the tribe's best horses. To avoid attracting attention, the exteriors were weathered and ragged. Despite this, the caravan had already encountered a small pack of feral wolves. In the chase, they had to abandon 2 slower carriages, which, while not holding precious items, did contain 2 months' worth of food. A temporary stop would be necessary soon, likely in a nearby valley where they might hunt wild bison or other game. Ying Lu stroked the hardwood bow that hung from his saddle, deep in thought. "Yi, what happened?" A young woman's voice called out sharply. It was Ying Shan, a 15-year-old relative of Ying Lu, gifted with spirit roots, a rare talent in their tribe. He looked at her, concern flashing in his eyes. Ahead, waves of azure light shimmered through dense shrubbery. Ying Lu's heart tightened. The glow could only come from Immortal techniques. Could some powerful figure be preparing to act against them? A small and impoverished tribe? He raised his hand to halt the group. The men immediately became alert, scanning the tall shrubs for potential danger. Ying Lu held his horse steady, weighing his options carefully. The light flickered continuously, yet no Immortals or visible techniques emerged from the shrubbery. He narrowed his eyes, analyzing the situation. The shrubs were dense and tall, concealing anything behind them. Finally, he called out, "Tu Meng, go over there and take a look to see whether or not there is an Immortal present." A young man with a strong, sturdy build descended from his horse and moved cautiously toward the shrubs, which lay 60 meters away. When the azure light was only 20 meters distant, he hesitated, unsure. "May I ask for the name of the immortal here? We are the Grey Heron Tribe, and we wish to pay our respects in front of your true appearance." Tu Meng spoke clearly, his voice filled with respect. Still, the light flickered with no response. Tu Meng glanced back at Ying Lu for guidance. The tribe elder lowered his head in thought for a moment before silently nodding. The youth gathered his courage, moving forward with silent, careful steps. As he arrived in front of the dense shrubbery, he gritted his teeth and parted the wild grass in front of him, ready to face whatever awaited him on the other side. In this episode, we saw Han Li emerge from his 4-year seclusion with a remarkable breakthrough. He had successfully cultivated a second Nascent Soul, allowing him to experiment with powerful Profound Yin Art transformations while carefully considering the risks of granting it a body. We also followed the growth of his mystical creations, like the Six-winged Frost Centipedes, which had become stronger after molting, and learned that even after decades, the Soul Seal curse on Wan'er still required cautious attention. As Han Li prepared for a journey to the Great Jin Empire, we witnessed the careful planning and strategy he employed to ensure his safety and the progress of his goals. Parallel to this, we explored the world beyond him through the Grey Heron Tribe's journey to the Endless Sky Temple, highlighting the dangers and challenges small tribes face in seeking protection from immortals, and how dedication, courage, and careful leadership guide them through perilous grasslands. What happens next? Stay tuned for the next episode of Immortals' Journey to Immortality. If you enjoyed this episode or found it exciting, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to receive the latest updates on Han Li's journey. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.